Disclaimer. This video discusses sensitive topics including suicide and mental health. Viewer discretion is advised. If you or someone you know needs help, call or text the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline at 988 for free, confidential support. You are not alone.
Before my birthday and was watching people running, and I was like, I want to run. Like, if they can do it, I can do it.
What's up, guys? My name is Rob, and this is Rob on the Run podcast, a running podcast for all healthy lifestyles. And today is episode 2020, actually. Yes, episode 20. And we have Sarah Alfaro. Sarah, how are you doing?
I am doing good. It's race week.
Yes, it's race week, and we'll get into that a little bit more, especially that you are an ambassador for the Chevron, Houston Half Marathon, which is exciting. But let's get the easiest thing for our guests to understand who you are. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yes, I'm originally born and raised in Houston. My mom is from Mexico, Chihuahua, Mexico. To be exact. Best cheese in the world. Mm-hmm. And my dad is from El Salvador. So I always like to tell everybody that I'm a half pupusa, half tamal. I know they make tamales in El Salvador, but the Mexican ones are better. But I was born in Houston, went to school here, graduated, lived in Austin for a little bit went to UT, Hook'em Horns. Sad game this past weekend. But
yes.
We'll move on.
Definitely.
But I'm from the Houston area and moved back in 2019, right before COVID, which was a really sad time, which is how I ended up getting into running. So I was never a runner. People always think that I've ran forever because I run marathons, but I used to cry myself out of running the mile in high school. Yeah. And I don't know if anybody I actually went to high school with Jacob, and I never realized it until later in life. Jacob is another ambassador for the Chevron Marathon. I think he did a takeover once and mentioned my school, and I was like, wait, I went to school there too. But I was definitely not an athlete in school and never had the courage to do what I do now. So
oh wow,
I'm happy to be here.
That's awesome. And I used to live in Austin too. I came to Austin post-pandemic, I guess, if you want to call it, because I'm not sure if it's even that considered yet or whatnot. But yeah, I used to live in Austin. I used to love the hills, and then I moved over here to Houston, and surprisingly, there's no hills. So it was a big change. But like I always tell everybody, regardless that there's no hills, there's the humid, which is way worse than Austin. So I feel like I'm still running hills either way, if you think about it.
People don't give Houstonians the credit they deserve for running in this humidity. I mean, granted, you put me in a hilly place and I will be really out of breath. I hike a lot, and I'll go out with my friends, and they hike. They live in those areas, so they hike daily, and we go out hiking. And I know it's probably an altitude thing, but I don't care how much I acclimate to the weather. As soon as we hit 1 mile hike, I'm like, I'd rather run this than hike up this, because this is terrible. And they're smoking me. I can outrun them any day, but we get on the hike and I'm out of shape, man.
yeah, for sure. But I used to, and I hate myself for doing this now that I live in Houston. I used to have a whole bunch of friends that are from Houston. And I would always tell them, oh my God, you flatlanders, and just making fun of them. And now I became a flatlander. So here I am now, enjoying the beautiful, humid weather and whatnot. Swampy weather, exactly. But yeah, you get used to it and whatnot. And I happen to love Houston more now with the running communities and stuff like that. So it's fun. It's definitely a fun time to be in Houston, especially now with the race coming and whatnot. Yeah. But I had just a question with leading to you starting to run. What inspired you to run? Was it, like you said, COVID or something else?
Yeah, so it was a little bit of mix of everything. I work in healthcare, and I was working for 6 months before the pandemic started, and I work in the med center, so that's kind of gets the worst of everything that happens. So I started running a mile a day because I was like, well, we don't have vaccines. I'm working in the COVID unit. Let's run a mile a day and see what happens. And that'll be my little marker to see if I have COVID or not, which is a long, funny story for later. So that kind of happened, and I just picked up running since gyms were closed. I was social distancing. that's kind of what got me into running Allen. I used to live right off Allen Parkway, so I kind of got into that. But it was really nerve wracking to like, I never really thought about doing a race,
Yeah.
never ran really over like 3 miles. But later in 2020, my cousin, who's like a sister to me, me and my sister kind of grew up all bullying. Well, they bullied me. I was the youngest one, but she went to A&M. I went to UT. So she was kind of my guidance growing up. She was the only one other family member that went to college at the time. So she was
Yeah.
kind of like the person that I followed and did a lot of stuff with. And she was really cool, but she unfortunately took her life during the pandemic.
Oh,
And
wow.
I was a big part of her process of going through some counseling and getting
Yeah.
her the help that we tried to get her. But I really took that hard. I think that with COVID and not really processing things how I should, I was always
Yeah.
an advocate for people to get their own mental health, but I really never was doing it for myself because I was like, oh no, I'm good. Like
Yeah.
I talk about my feelings all the time. Like I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
But I was not good. I mean, I think January 2021 came around and I was like, my birthday is in January. It's next weekend. And I was like, who am I? And I was running. I started to run more like longer distances. I was still keeping up with that running that I had started in the pandemic and just started running because I was like, I don't want to feel like this anymore. And maybe if I keep running, I'll feel better. And that's kind of what led me to that. And then eventually I was like, I should probably talk to a therapist because running can only get you so far.
Yeah. Yeah.
So with therapy and running, I was like, I'm going to do something that like, I think is going to challenge me and like give me a nice goal to continue to like work through the pandemic and
Yeah.
like deal with the grief that I was dealing with. And I was like, I'm going to sign up for a marathon.
Oh, wow.
And it's literally never ran like over 3 miles. And I was like, I'm going to run a marathon.
Wow.
But it was really, I honestly, looking back on it, I was like, man, I really was not in a good spot if that's what I thought was like a good goal.
Wow.
But it was very much like, I'm going to do anything I set my mind to. And I gave
Yeah.
myself a long time. I had a whole year
Okay.
to do it. So like January of 21, I was like, next year, like I saw people running the marathon. Like I never even knew about running. And I think it was one day I was watching TV that weekend before my birthday and was watching people running. And I was like, I want to run. Like if they can do it, I can do it. And I'm sure I started following the Chevron ambassadors and really got into a lot of their stories and just following a lot of people on social media. And honestly, like Instagram was the reason that I got into running and why I wanted to seeing other people and like their stories and like their struggles and how they're fitting in all this into their life was really inspiring. And then here we are. I was going to do one. I came and now this will be number 6.
Oh, wow. But you mentioned something that's very interesting. It's kind of the way I picked it up. Of course, I picked it up thanks to my fiance, but then I started following people and I started seeing things, and I also got that inspiration from the other runners, and it kind of worked out the same way where I got the courage to do bigger distances because I would say, man, if this person can do it, why can't I? As long as if I dedicate myself to training and whatnot, I should be able to do it. But, I've had several runners that tell me, I started from nothing to a half or, a 10K. I don't think I've had a guest that goes from 0 to 26 miles. And granted, you had a year, like you said, but that's still a big gap between starting to, going and doing one of the, what they say, less than 1% of the population in the world does it, and you went straight to the mecca, I guess, of running, so tell me that your mentality, how was your training that first time? Like what did you learn about yourself and about the training process to be able to go and run a marathon just like that?
Yeah, I joined I joined a running group, and there was a coworker of mine at the time, and she was like, hey, come join this group called Runners High. And she's like, they'll, train you. And I was like, I didn't even know this was a thing. And I was like, perfect. Cause I'm a physical therapist. Like I've always been like fit and cared about what I eat and what I would like working out. It's important. But I never really like applied myself that much to push myself to those things. But yes, mentally, it was like every long run was the longest run I've ever ran in my life. And I would always tell those people that I love them. One of her name is Teresa. And
Mm-hmm.
then my BFF, Michelle, who's like my running security blanket. I've ran all my marathons with her.
Mm-hmm.
She's sitting this one out. And so it's my first time not running with her, but she will be spectating. I mean, both of them were just my constant people I ran with my long runs, and they were celebrating every time I would run like a 12-mile, 13-mile. They're like, "This is your longest run. Like, you've never ran this far." I was like, "I know." And I would go home, and I mean, that first year was terrible. I was doing Orange Theory at the time too, because I
Mm-hmm.
think the pandemic was like calming down, and they had like distanced classes at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I was still doing a lot of strength training, and I've always had that base. So I really do feel like that was my biggest like buffer in the sense of not getting injured, because a
Yeah.
lot of the things is like people go from 0 to 100, like running a half marathon or a 10K for speed, but they don't really do any strength training. And
Yeah.
I know my body, and I know like what I do for work. So I know it's important to get all of those aspects in.
Mm-hmm.
And the distances that of a week that I run now is like nothing compared to what I did my first year. It was like minimal. I was probably doing the like bare minimum you need to do to run a marathon.
Oh, wow.
But mentally, it was like I was surprised each time that like I felt better and better. Like everything hurt worse and worse, but like mentally, I was like, man, I can do this. Like
Yeah.
like there can do it. And I was running with like 70-year-olds in this group, because I put myself in a 5-hour group. I'm like, I'm gonna run in the back, because I don't even know
Yeah.
what my pace is. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, I used to cry myself out of running a mile. So I was like, I don't really know what my potential, my running
Yeah.
speed is, but I want to be safe and not get injured, because like what I do with my body is at work, it's like all physical. So I'm like, if
Yeah.
I get injured doing my hobby, I can't even do my job. So it was very interesting, and I would have never made it that first marathon without all of that, with that group, and without those people training and their guidance, and honestly just social media too, like listening to everybody's tips and tricks of
Mm-hmm.
like what to do for their first race, and like all the things you're not supposed to do. Like get COVID 2 weeks before your marathon. That was
Oh
me.
my God.
My very first marathon, I got COVID 2 weeks before
Oh,
I was supposed to
wow.
race. And I was like, I can't do this. Like,
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
I mentally, I said I shouldn't do this, but like, I was like, I just trained this whole time. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And my whole family came to cheer me on. And during this whole thing, I know I kind of started heavy with the suicide talk, but I was really getting my family to like get out of that funk too. I mean, we were all
Yeah.
experiencing it. So 2022 came around, and I ran my first marathon. My whole family was there cheering me on. And I wanted to, we're Latino, we eat. I've always eaten. And so I found a sport that just like allows me to do all of that and not, I was like, and more. I feel like, man,
Yes. Yes.
I've always used to eating a whole
Mm-hmm.
lot of food, but like the calories you consume while running, it's like
It's
insane.
crazy. Yeah.
People look at me. I mean, I have like this giant lunch bag that I take to work, and people are like, "You're gonna eat all that? You're so small." And I'm like, "I'm a growing girl, like not vertically, but like emotionally, mentally."
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah,
uh,
I hear you. That's me. I'm from Mexico, and I grew up eating the most greasiest food you can think from mom. So I also that's one of the reasons why I love running, because I can justify sometimes having that cheat meal with high calorie, high greasy food, and be
yeah,
able to feel at least okay about it. But
yeah. I
yeah,
had Chick-fil-A right now, not before this, because I was running around, and I was like, "Well, I gotta get some food in."
But no, that's funny, man. That's crazy that, in hindsight, right? Looking at your first marathon compared to now going to this marathon, the difference in what you've learned is amazing. I'm pretty sure like you said, you're running more miles now than you were before. Like you ran the minimum, which probably might be the reason why it was a hard marathon. I'm pretty sure for you. Same for me. My first marathon I did Chicago, and I think I was maybe running 20, 25 miles a week. And I was not fueling correctly. Like everything they tell you on a marathon that you have to try, like, hey, try your gels on training, try this, try that. Never did. Never did. I just
And
showed
yeah,
up on the date and, I bought a whole bunch of stuff on the expo and said, hey, this is what I'm gonna do. And of course something didn't work out, which my cramping was pretty bad. And I finished like in 5 hours or something like that. But it's the experiences, right? And that you gain from each marathon, and that's crazy. Is it safe to say that the marathon is your favorite distance?
yes, it's the only distance that I've raced.
Oh
Like
wow.
I to this day I've never like gone out and like trained or gave it my all for any other distance.
Oh wow.
I did like a few 5Ks since then, and
Mm-hmm.
then since I've started doing marathons, like I have signed up for like half marathons,
Mm-hmm.
but I usually will just kind of do them for fun. I know it
Like
sounds scary,
okay, okay.
but I've
Uh,
never like raced a half marathon. So I don't know what my distance is. I just kind of went extreme and have stayed there since then.
well, that's interesting. That's very interesting. But when is your first half marathon, or or the next half marathon you're gonna run?
Uh, I really should say next year, like 2026, I should do a Ramco half
Mm-hmm.
marathon. But the pressures that be, man, they get you. The peer pressure to
Mm-hmm.
race and to
Mm-hmm.
like not be hanging. It's like you train with your friends and you meet people in the running community that become closer to you than your coworkers. And like you're pretty close to your coworkers if you don't work from home. Like
Yeah.
you see them every day, like you're sitting next to them, honestly, more than you are with your family
Yeah.
sometimes. So that becomes your running friends. Like you meet them multiple times a week, you meet
Yeah.
them on the weekends, and they really do get under your skin, and they're like, just one more. And I'm like, but what about this? And I'm like, but it's fine. Like, it's just this. And I'm like, wow, you're right. And then you're in it and you're like, whose idea was this?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
but and I'm gonna go and take a guess that all you said 6 marathons, all of them have been the Houston marathons, or what other
No.
marathon?
So another crazy, before I even did my first full marathon, I signed up for Chicago.
Okay.
So I was like, I'm gonna run Houston. I'm already here, and like, if that doesn't go well, I'll have Chicago as a backup.
Mm-hmm.
And so I fundraised in 22. I ran Chicago. So I did Houston 22 in January, Chicago, and then
Mm-hmm.
I did Houston again, and then I did Berlin,
Oh
and
wow.
then I did Houston. This year I've only done Houston, or this past year I did Houston. And then
Yeah.
this year I'm running Houston again, and then I'm actually running Chicago again
Nice. Nice. Nice.
this fall.
So, now that you said Berlin, I didn't know that you ran Berlin. What was your experience? I just did mine in September, this past
Yeah.
September.
My
So,
experience was I got a little tipsy with my friend when we were post celebrating the marathon. We went
yeah.
to eat sushi and like some sake later, and we're like, let's sign up for Berlin. We've never even had dreams of going to Germany, and we're just like mediocre marathoners, and we're
Mm-hmm.
like, let's do it. And so we texted our other friend, and we're like, hey, let's all do this. We did Chicago together, so we were like, we got to do Berlin like together. And so we signed up as a lottery,
Okay.
as a group lottery. I
Oh
don't even know
wow.
what lotteries were at the time.
Yeah.
My running like knowledge was minimal. Now I know a lot more, and I still feel like I don't know everything
Oh, I didn't even
about
know
like
they
the
had a
races.
group lottery. I didn't even know they had it
That's what
like that.
I didn't know either until my friend told me who we were signing up. So we signed up that day, and then
Mm-hmm.
if one of your names gets picked, you all get in as
Oh
like the group. So
wow.
your chances are higher. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
you can only have 3 or 4 people. Again, don't quote me on any of this.
Yeah.
In your group. But anyways, one of us got in, and then all of us were like, we got to go. Two of us decided to go, and the third one had some life changes, so she wasn't able to make it to Berlin. So that same friend that I had ran my original marathon with, she did Chicago with me, and then
Mm-hmm.
we went to Berlin together,
Oh wow.
and did that, and it was really fun. I very flat. I think it was a great race. I would have probably never thought to have done that race, and it was amazing. I mean, just the history, and we did so many tours before then, so I feel like
Yeah.
I had walked a marathon even before I ran the marathon. So I was really tired, and it to this day is like Chicago was my worst race. Berlin is up there. traveling for marathons is just not, I don't know how to like not do all the tours and everything.
Hmm.
So you really do get tired.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
why I'm doing Chicago again, my
Yeah.
redemption round.
Yeah, I want to do Chicago again because, like I mentioned to you, it was my first one, and I didn't do as good as I thought I would. And I now know the reasons. One of them is just what you said. I went touring like if I was not gonna run, and
Yeah.
I got there 2 days before, and those 2 days, I literally put like 40,000 steps. And when I went to go run Chicago, I already felt like you said, like you ran already a
Yeah.
marathon before running the actual marathon. So, and I did thinking that you would probably learn your lesson. I did it the same year. I ran New York. I did the same
The same
thing.
thing. Yeah. I did the same thing in Berlin. Like we did walking tours. I was trying to be good, but you have to, I mean, the public transportation is like all walking and
Yeah,
getting
yeah, yeah.
around. So
So in 2022 when you did Berlin, did you kind of freak out on the water stations that they had tea?
oh, I was the amount of times I feel like I wish I recorded myself because I was like every one I passed by, I'm like, is it sweet? What does it taste like? And so I'm like running by them. Like never once did I stop and get it until my last one. I was
Yeah,
like, I'm gonna get tea. I'm
yeah.
gonna get tea. And I was like, is it Lipton? I mean, those cute little German women handing out the
Yeah.
teas. They're like, it's good, try it. And I was like, this is really nice. I mean, at that point, I was already like jog walking at some point,
Yeah.
and I was like, this is uncomfortable. We're going to have fun. But the best thing about Berlin, I don't know
Hmm.
if they do it every year. I would assume so. The apples. They have like sliced apples on the
Yes.
race,
Yes.
and it's the best apple I've ever eaten in my life. I don't know if it's just like you're tired and hot, but I mean, every stop I got a few apples and I carried some in my hand, and I was just like
Hmm.
eating apples as I went. And I honestly think that's the only reason I finished that race.
Yeah, yeah. I saw the apples. I saw a lot of people giving out bananas. It's definitely one of those memorable races. I always tell my friends that ask me about Berlin how flat it was, and I told them I was like, it makes Houston feel much
Feel
hillier
Yeah, honestly,
because yeah.
I feel like Chicago. I don't. Again, I feel like I blacked out during Chicago because I tell people I'm like I think it's really flat until the end. Like
Hmm.
Houston just feels. I guess it's because you train like this in Houston, and then when you
Yeah,
run, it's like where do those hills come from? And so, but if you go to Chicago, you're expecting hills, and then you get flat.
yeah, yeah. But it's fun. It was a fun race. I liked it a lot. I will tell you one thing. I don't know if you experienced this, us being Hispanics again, and we love our huevo rancheros and stuff like that for
Mm,
breakfast. They don't do breakfast in Europe in general, for what I found out. But in Germany, I stayed at the Holiday Inn, and they had their
Nothing
continental
opens till like
breakfast.
11. I was struggling. I was like, where can I just get something salty for breakfast? That's always my struggle in general because like I
Yeah.
want a Mexican breakfast. Like I don't.
Hmm.
People are like, I want a croissant, and I'm like, that's not
Yeah.
food.
Yeah.
I was like, it is food, but I was like, I want like some huevos rancheros, like
Yeah.
chilaquiles. Like
Oh my God.
I want some good breakfast, which I know I'm
Yeah.
not going to get in Germany, but I was at least like wanting some eggs. Yeah, the hotel we stayed at had honestly, I will say, hotels in Europe are like
Hmm.
far superior to any American hotel. The food
Hmm.
is just like delicious. I was in love with all the juices. They were basically like aguas frescas, but like
Hmm.
actual juice, not what they use in Mexico. Not always. And I was like, sometimes it's like really red. I'm like, I know that's not a watermelon. But they had really good juice, and it was very interesting because they had a lot of different things that I would not. I'm like, this looks like a weird salad combo that's served for breakfast. But I
Yeah.
love bread and I love cheese, so I'm like, you serve me bread and cheese at any time of the day, and I'll be happy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yes, the
It
place,
was.
nothing was open like until 11 o'clock. So the
Yeah.
day of the race, thankfully, the hotel I had booked it through the BMW website, the
Okay.
race website,
Yeah.
and they cater. Like if you got the package of the website, it
Mm.
included the breakfast for runners, which was really nice. And they
Okay.
did have
Okay.
extra like stuff different than their regular breakfast that day.
Okay, so definitely I might have not done that because yeah, when they showed me their continental breakfast, it was cheeses and bread, yeah, and what was it? Like mini waffles. I think that was the only thing that I kind of, but I was expecting like some scrambled eggs or something. No, they didn't have
No,
anything
they
like that.
didn't. They definitely didn't have that, but they had like boiled eggs. So I think I like
Yes.
ate. It was like nothing new on race day. I was like, I've never eaten a boiled egg before a race. I remember cutting into it and telling my friend, I'm like, we'll see how this goes.
But yeah, it was a great experience for me, and I really want to do it again. Maybe in a year or two. I'm trying to do the majors, but oh my God, they keep on adding more. So I don't know if I ever finish. That's the problem. Like I'm already at
Right.
3, and I was right at half. And then right when
And
I
then it's
think
like
Chicago,
Sydney.
yeah, Sydney, I'm like, oh my God, I was halfway. Now add another one. So, and I
Did
think
you
they're gonna add
apply
2
for
more.
Sydney?
No, because
Okay.
I don't want to. I don't think I'm gonna do it anytime soon. I want to do
Okay.
London next year,
Mhm.
so I really want to do that one. But speaking about your marathons, what do you do to stay motivated in your training periods when you're actually training for a marathon, or how do you not get motivated?
I feel like definitely this past race was really hard. I had a lot of friends that I usually run with have a
Yeah.
lot of stuff come up, including myself. I mean, I normally am not a flaker, but I've definitely flaked on a few people this year. Sorry, I'll be better. I, at least like when I
We
flake, I
need
flake at
names.
like
We need names. We need names.
sorry, Joey. Sorry, he's another ambassador. I flaked on him this. I was gonna say I haven't flaked this year, but I woke up and flaked on him this morning.
Oh my God. Sorry, Joey.
Sorry, Joey. Yeah, he'll text me he's like, "Did you ever run?" And I'm like, "Yeah, eventually, I got it
Eventually,
done."
I started
But
it in my dreams, and then I actually got up and
yeah,
did the training.
I will say, like when I do flake on people, it's like the night before though. Like
Okay, okay,
I'm a pre-flaking.
okay.
I'll be like 10 p.m. and I'm like, yeah, I haven't gone to bed yet. Like, there's no way I'm waking up at 4 a.m. to run with you.
Sorry, go find
Yeah,
someone else.
yeah. It's sometimes I think it's better than waking up and like you're already awake and then someone texts you like they're not coming and I'm like,
Oh yeah,
well, now I gotta run in the dark by myself and hope I don't
yeah.
get kidnapped.
No, I hear
But
you. That's happened to me so many times where like I have a running partner and I'm excited because I usually don't have a running partner, and
yeah,
then it's like 5 o'clock in the morning, and I usually do the text. I'm getting ready, and
yep,
then no answer, and then maybe by like right when like they're supposed to be there, they're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I'm not gonna be able to make it." I'm like, "Oh,
yeah,
great."
yeah.
Now I
I
got to do
always
it on
send
my
people.
own.
I'm like, I'll send you proof of life in the morning. Like, if you don't get a text from me at like 20, 30 minutes before we're supposed to meet, like
Yeah,
something's wrong. Like, one, check on me, or two, and I'm usually a woman of my word. Like, I'm not gonna tell you I'm gonna meet you up, and then like I don't think I've ever snoozed on anybody, so that's been good. I've always texted. I've always woken up and intentionally been like, nah, not for me
not
today.
today.
Yeah. But I will say, running with people has kept me motivated. This past year, like I said, a lot of people have had stuff going on, so I've had to do a lot of solo runs, which
Hmm.
I think is kind of what I needed this year. Like I needed that alone time to I needed some me time
Yeah,
to really like refocus on the things that bring me joy. And there were a lot of runs this year that I told my coach, I was like, it's not there. I don't know if
yeah,
it's worth it. And really just took a lot of time off this cycle when I didn't really feel like doing it. Like when you have to say like, oh, I have to go run,
hmm hmm
those are some meaningful words,
yeah,
like you should want to run. And I have like, there's a lot. I don't ever want to wake up in the morning and run like that's different. Like
yeah,
waking up is hard every day, even when you don't have to run. So
yeah,
sometimes, but when you get home from work and you're like, man, I have to go run. I really don't want to. Like when the motivation's not there, it's hard. And relying on other friends to like kind of get you motivated is really helpful. And that's where like the power of social media, like I'll see people post their garments and I'm like, you know what? They got it done today. And I
yeah,
know they're struggling
yeah.
like with life because I know them, or life's not always what Instagram looks like.
Of course.
But when I see people post their like Garmin or like kind of post about like, man, I didn't have time, but we got it done. Like 2 miles is better than no miles. Like
Hmm.
that really motivates me. I get motivated by other people, not really to compare myself to them, but just like, man, I know they're doing life, like those mom runners that have like 3 kids and they're like
Yeah.
working full time. I'm like, who are you? Like, I got 2 dogs that don't really depend that much on me, and I'm like barely surviving with
It's like you depend on
getting
them.
everything
It's the other
together.
way around, right?
I
You
know.
depend
I
on the
get home
dogs.
and I'm like, everybody's like, I bet your dogs get a lot of exercise. I'm like, my poor dogs, like they're happy to be alive
Hmm.
and snuggle on the couch. And like when I ask them to walk, they really just look at me like, Mom, you do enough for all of us.
And what type of dogs do you have?
They're mutts, street
Okay.
dogs. Yeah. I
Those are the
think they're
best,
both
man. Those are the
pit bull
best.
mix. One's, I don't know, one's a little bit of a coyote mix, I feel. Like I don't feel like he's quite a dog. Sometimes I look at him and I'm like, that's not right.
Something went wrong here.
Something went wrong in his whatever like inbreeding happened on the
Yeah.
streets. Like
Oh my God.
he came out a little twinkle. Like
Oh my God, that's too
no,
funny.
really, like his head's a little tilted these days, but he's surviving. He's not thriving anymore, but
Yeah, I
he's
have a
here.
dog. He was told by the person I picked him up from, I rescued him from, that he was a Texas healer. And then I saw him and I'm like, this ain't no Texas healer, but I'll still take him because I'm not going to say no to a dog.
No.
But my dog, and I mean it with the most up respect. I call him my special needs dog
Oh.
because oh
Hmm.
my God, this dude, like I'll be watching TV and the bed is his bed in the living room is right next to where I sit, and this dude will look at me straight up all the time I'm sitting there, and just looking at me and looking at me and
He's
looking
like,
at me.
you know why?
He's like, are we gonna play? Are we gonna do something? Are you gonna include me in your in your day? And I look at him and I tell him I have to tell him sit down or something because he won't sit. Just look at me. So yeah, I call him my special needs dog. His name is Dexter. He's a very loving dog. He's a very obedient dog. But I'm his life. Like, he sees me all day because I work from home, so he's always with me.
Yeah.
And yeah, but there's no way if you pet this dog just slightly, he starts going crazy. It's like, oh my God, I got attention. I got attention. Oh my God. So I feel you. I feel you when you have a dog that, there's something strange about him, he's definitely not a wolf. I'll tell you that. Or a coyote. He's definitely a dog, but yeah. He's my special dog. I love him, but sometimes he could be a little too much. So I get it. And he loves
That's
to
my
run.
dog.
He loves to run. I'll tell you that. But he's
Ooh,
not a
so
good
you have
runner.
that in common. Oh, never mind. Just kidding.
No, I tell you, he's not a good runner because like I'll take him out on like the 3 mile runs. I'm not ready. I don't think he's ready for a longer distance. And the
Uh-huh.
reason why is because like the first mile and a half, he's trying to sprint. And so
Uh,
when we get to like mile 2,
he's done.
he's done. He's
He's like
done. So
everyone this weekend that's like, I'm gonna race.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
they just half marathon comes and they're like, I'm toast.
yeah. I
That's
should have
what,
gone
yeah,
slower.
yeah. That's like my strong suit. I'm like, people are like going fast, and I'm like, I'll see you guys later.
And now, a word from our sponsor.
Later. I was like, I'm over here. I'm like, I'll see you later. And then I'm like, I pass them, and I'm like, remember when you
What
went
I
too
tell
fast?
you.
Yeah.
No, yeah, I've had to learn that the hard way. So now I am a little bit. I start slower and don't let the hype get to me.
It's
Unfortunately
hard.
for this marathon, I did not catch COVID 2 weeks like you, but I did have a mild sprain or was it yeah, sprain, I guess, on my hamstring. And that kind of took a little bit. So I was cleared to run by my physical therapist, but I don't think I should push too hard. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a learning curve for me to pace myself and not let again
Listen to your body.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the moment that and you're in a race and you see people running and you want you I don't do it with the intention of running fast. I just lose myself in the moment, and that's when I'm like my dog Dexter. Later on, I'm like, oh my God, I should have gone slower, And but yeah, it is what it is. But let's talk about the ambassadorship. How did you become an ambassador for the Houston Marathon?
I applied online, the link. I didn't even know what it was. I mean, I had started at that point, I had started following
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the ambassadors, and then they start posting like when the link comes out to
Yeah.
apply. And I honestly just applied. And I was like, I'm short, I'm not fast, I like running. I started posting more on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Not that I mean, I don't, besides my parents and some family members, I'm not sure who else is watching out there, but thank you. Um, but yeah, I applied and then was very surprised. I was actually with Patty. Was it her birthday? I think it was her birthday. And then
Mm-hmm.
Patty and I both got in at the same time, but I
Okay.
didn't realize it. So she was like, I got in. And I didn't tell anybody applied because I was like, oh, like pressure. I didn't tell anybody I applied.
Yeah.
Maybe I did. I don't remember. But we were there, and then she got it, and I was like, "Oh, it's okay. Like, it wasn't meant to be." And
Yeah.
I went home that day, and I checked my spam, and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" I screenshotted it to her, and I was like, "I got in too!" So it was really exciting. Especially, I met Patty through Runners High, so she was she
Mm-hmm.
was in the 4:30 group that I ended up moving up to, and
Okay.
so she helped me train, and I followed her a lot. On social media and basically stalked her until she became my friend. And I joined Latinas Run when we were hosting some things. So that's kind of where I got to know a lot of the other ambassadors because
Mm-hmm.
we just became, I mean, the running community is very small. Like it's a big community, but like
Yeah.
it's small. You kind of all get to know each other
Yeah.
and find each other. So it's been really fun being an ambassador. This is my second year and
Okay.
it's been awesome. I mean, we're always looking for new faces to come join us. I think you have three. You're supposed to do like 3 years. I think
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of take a year off. I don't know.
Okay.
There's rules. I haven't read them all. I don't even know if I'm supposed to be talking about this, but here we are.
Oh, you see, that's
No, I'm
awesome
kidding.
that I'm recording already. I got
Just
I got some
kidding.
dirt already. Awesome.
Right, right. I know. You're like, I hold this here, like, up. Take me next year, or I'll share this. And
That's awesome. Or I'm gonna tell them if you don't give me ambassadorship, I will share this.
yeah, right. Exactly. Put that on there.
No, I think I applied the one time, and I, I I think I was barely learning how to run a marathon to begin with, and I hadn't
Mm.
even ran one single race of the Houston Marathon. So I'm pretty sure that's why I didn't get in. I'm pretty sure that there was no proof that I was, a runner. I guess I don't know, but I definitely want to do it maybe next year. I'm
Yes,
trying to do
apply.
the legacy for the 10 marathon. So
Oh, what number are you on?
I'm at 4, so I still got a long way.
You got it. You can do it.
But earlier you said about how you kind of get bamboozled into running the
You
marathons.
do.
That's the reason why I get myself bamboozled because
Mm.
I don't know the rules. I've never read them. Just like how you said, I don't know if you have to run 10 marathons
I
or it
don't
could be a
think they have to.
combination.
Oh, I
You
know
know,
that it cannot be a combination, but it doesn't have to be consecutive.
yeah, yeah.
So, like, you can do a few halves and then a few fulls, and then eventually they do not like you can get the legacy for the half marathon, but it's got to
Hmm.
be like 10 half
Yeah,
marathons or
yeah.
10 fulls.
Yeah. Well, if you can tell, I have a lot of gray hair, so time is running out for me, and I cannot take
Mm.
that many, um, ha
Fulls on your knees.
yeah, yeah. My feet at this point are already telling me what the hell are you doing every time I run a marathon. So I really want to do these 10 marathons as fast as I can. I don't even know, I'll be honest, again, I don't even know what you get for being legacy other than like being on the
I think you
website or
get
something.
fancy bathrooms. I think they get their own elite or not elite, their own like legacy bathrooms,
Oh,
aka you don't have to share a porta potty with other people
now that is a game
besides
changer.
other legacy people. And then you get another bib that
Okay.
says your legacy or your bib says your legacy, one of those two. I should know more about this. being an ambassador. Oh my gosh, this is terrible.
Oh my God, you failed. You
I
failed.
feel like I'm taking an ambassador test, and I just feel like I'm here to motivate people in how they're doing their runs. Like, don't ask me
Mhm,
questions that I can give you a
mhm.
website link for. Okay.
Okay, okay. I didn't want to tell you, but at this point, I'm going to tell you. The Houston Chevron reached out to me and told me to test you, and you failed. You failed.
Okay. I've
You
never
failed.
been a good test taker, so I'm only just proving my point.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So that's what they told me. I'm sorry. I was forced to do this. I didn't want to do this, but
But here we are.
but here we are.
Yeah. But
We
you
here
should
we are.
definitely apply next year. I think everyone should apply all the time. I know I hear a lot of people like they applied once and then they don't, but I'm like, I didn't have a lot of followers. I don't really pay attention to that. I
Hmm.
just do me. But it's been really nice. I meet people in the community all the time, and I'll be running, and someone's like, "Hey, I saw your takeover," and I'm like, "You were the one person that watched it." Okay. But it's nice to meet a lot of people. I've met a lot of people that have reached out to me actually after sharing a little bit about my cousin's story.
Yeah,
And it's a team that you don't ever want to join, but it's nice to hear people's stories and journeys because you never know. Like I said, I was sitting on the couch one year,
hmm,
depressed and feeling icky, and saw someone that motivated me. And that could be you for somebody. And you don't
yeah,
have to be a Boston qualifier. You don't even have to run a marathon. You can train for the 5K.
yeah.
Like everyone's story is unique, and it
Hmm.
just takes one person for you to like be able to reach that makes a difference.
And that's
Even if
exactly.
that's your dog,
Even if it's my dog, which he already looks at me like I'm his biggest
Exactly.
inspiration. But you definitely are right. That's the reason why I started this podcast. That's the reason why I started sharing my journey when I started running. And I'm not doing the podcast to make money off of it. Well, it wouldn't be a bad thing, but I really love talking to runners. I really love talking to you know hearing their story, how they started. And to me, that's awesome. And if I can get one person, if it's your mom, your dad, or somebody, whoever is going to watch this podcast, to inspire them to do something, to walk outside and walk a mile, not even, you don't have to run, just inspire someone to do something positive for themselves. That's great, and that's my mentality. If I can help somebody change their lifestyle for the better, then man, I think I've done my job,
Yeah.
and speaking about living a better lifestyle, I know you mentioned a little bit about your mental journey, but tell me how really the running helped you mentally to through those times where you were struggling.
Yeah. I mean, even this year has been a struggle. I mean, everything that I've talked about is all just, I mean, motivation's fluctuating, life fluctuates, life happens, and grief. I
Hmm.
mean, grief comes and goes, and some
Yeah,
days you get slapped with it, and running is always there.
yeah,
Thankfully, I've not been injured, so it's been my way of grieving. I have a very stressful job sometimes, and I care a lot, so I take home a lot of my work. And sometimes it is nice to come home and get those frustrations out of the inequalities of life or just
yeah,
things that just don't go your way. So it's nice to be able to get out and have control over some of the things that you can do for yourself. And really, like, I get like a good runner's high. Like I listen to like some EDM. I probably listen to the same EDM I listened to in college. I don't think I've expanded to anything new. It's like the same 5 songs on loop, and I just listen. I put on an album or I'll
hmm,
listen to it, and music and running and like being outside just gets you in a zone that like
yeah,
I could have a really crappy day at work, and then I come home, and even if I just run for like 10-15 minutes,
yeah,
like it just switches my perspective on life. And it's like, well, anything can be hard until it's not, and like
yeah,
anything can be challenging until like it starts to get easier, and
yeah,
everything will end. Like the terrible feeling will end that you're feeling, the run will end, the
yeah.
day will end.
Oh yeah.
But there's always a new start to everything. So that's kind of
Hmm.
how I look at my running. It's such a mental journey while I run.
Yeah.
And I really just like, I got into some podcasts. I've been listening to a lot of murder podcasts when I run. So I started running with like a knife, not to murder anyone.
To protect yourself, of course.
Let me
Yeah.
rephrase that. They're gonna be like, Sarah arrested, and I'm like,
Whoa, this is going to be evidence for the
I've
police
been
later.
listening to a lot of crime junkie podcasts,
Okay,
and
okay.
they've encouraged me to be more safe. There we go.
Okay,
let
there
me
you go.
let me
There you
rephrase
go.
the like running around with a knife.
We'll take this off the podcast when I edit it. Don't worry.
That's okay. But yeah, so it's been really great. I mean, just to get your mind off whatever's bothering you that day. And
Yeah.
sometimes I've gone out and run when I've had a crappy day and my run felt crappy, but at least I moved my body, and then like I always feel better about that.
That's awesome.
Not all runs feel good.
Yeah, for sure. And it's it's true. I recently, what was it? I'm trying to remember, like 2 years ago. I think it's been 2 years already. I finally was diagnosed with ADHD and depression and anxiety, which I always knew there was something wrong with me just because of the way I would be very irritable and very impatient and my anger would go from 0 to 100 in a second, but I always thought it was just things that happen or whatnot. And so I got diagnosed, and then I started kind of going through kind of a time to think about everything that has happened and kind of not to justify, but kind of to understand why things happened the way they did in the
Yeah.
past. And running was a big, and has been a big thing for me to be able to kind of lose myself and forget about these stresses and things like that. So yeah, like you said, it helps you, with your mental health, with having a crappy day. You go out there for 20 minutes and it changes. It really does change the way you feel. And that's why I always advocate running or walking. Again, if you're having a bad day, if even I tell my daughter now that she's going to college, her first year, and if you're stuck doing something and you're feeling frustrated, go outside and walk. Take a 10-minute walk and stop thinking about those problems that you're having. And you're going to see when you come back, you're going to be having a much more clear mind to be able to maybe to fix what you were trying to fix or understand what you were trying to understand that at the moment you couldn't. So for me, running has been such a great thing. And I feel like my anxiety has helped. And I'm going to therapy. I have a therapist and a psychiatrist, and it's some like Hispanics. That's a big thing. And I always love to say this because I was part of it. And my mom thought the same way, made me think the same way. Why are you going to talk to a shrink? Like,
Yeah.
why are you talking to a stranger? You already know what you got. Just fix it. And so these are the things that I grew up, up to like
Hearing, yeah.
yeah, up to this 2 years ago. And man, it was such a life changer to change that perspective. And now I'm a big advocate of going to get therapy. Like everybody should have therapy. I don't think there should be just a specific person.
I agree.
And thanks to these life-changing decisions that I made for myself, now I feel like I can help other people with it. And that's running for me is therapy for me, a second type of therapy. So it's amazing and it's awesome, how running such a, I wouldn't say easy sport because it's not easy, but such a easy thing to do is go out and just run.
Move your body. Yeah.
Move your body, even if you're just a really slow runner or a very fast runner, but just go out there and it helps you. It helps you get all that clutter that you have in your brain,
Yeah.
But yeah, and talking still about a little bit of the mental health. How do you feel like you're also like a champion about mental health, and how do you feel that you are a advocate to your friends, family members, and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, shout out to my therapist because I would not be in this position being able to do anything that I do without her. Her name is also Sarah.
Awesome.
But I told her so since then, I mean, I'm pretty open. I feel like I've always been open about talking about my feelings, probably a little too much. But I think there's a difference when talking about your friends and your family with your feelings and like talking with a therapist. And that's something that I learned. I thought I was always a pretty healthy person with that. But talking to your therapist, man, she says some stuff that I'm like, this is why you get paid the big bucks.
Yeah.
But like a lot of the stuff that she says sits with me, and so I'm able to kind of repeat some of those guidances to some of my friends. A lot of them with I'm running. I have a lot of people that I've openly shared a lot of suicide talk with, and mental health talk and crisis talk with during my runs. I have a lot of people who've been able to actually see my therapist. I told her, I'm like, I know you can't break HIPAA, but if there's like a punch card, like how many people have I referred to you now? Like, and she starts laughing. She's like, I can't tell you any of that. And I was like, I know, because I have a lot of friends that I'm like, I see we all share the same therapist now. So like when my therapist is actually unavailable, I'll like reach out to my friends. I'm like, yo, what would she say in this moment? It's really funny, but yeah, I mean, I think it's something, especially being Latina, that is not talked about, and having somebody in your family like take their life, that's a like really big hit to the Latin culture. Just the stigma of suicide, the idea behind it, and everything that it goes to, and the lack of talking about difficult things and the trauma that everything can cause. But I've been a big advocate for my family to, I was like, I'm going to not give you advice. I'm going to show you how I heal and hope that you can take from it. Like just by setting an example. Yeah. I kind of went a little ham with like, I'm going to show you how to be healthy by like running a marathon. Cause now everyone thinks I'm just loca, but I mean, my mom, she actually did the 5K last year because she was like, I don't want to just spectate you. And so I was her cheerleader last year while she did the 5K. She actually registered this year, but she's going to be in Mexico visiting some family. So she will not be able to do it. But I do think it's been a big part of my whole family's life, being able to see me overcome a lot of things. And honestly, like if I could just get one of them to go to therapy and talk about their feelings and the trauma that we all went through, I think it's important. And like you said, sometimes people think that they have to be like depressed, not getting out of bed to see a therapist. Yeah. And I get out of bed every day. I'm a generally happy person, and I run marathons. I'm healthy, but I still see somebody because you don't realize, like, you as a human, you're dealing with so much. And we take a lot on our plate, especially if you're like a mom, grandma, like whatever you are in life. Dad, brother, sister, like you're taking on a lot of stuff for yourself, and you can't take care of anybody else if you don't take care of yourself. And no one's going to love you as much as you can love yourself.
Very true. Very true. And I hear you when you say that, like, you don't have to be in bed or show signs of depression, because I was very ignorant about that. And when the first time my therapist finally told me, hey, are you ready for my diagnosis, what I think? And I'm like, sure. And she told me depression. And I'm like, I'm probably the funniest guy in my house. Like, I joke around. How am I depressed? Like how? Like, this is BS, no, maybe my mom was right. I started thinking. And then she started really going deep and giving me, breaking it down. And then I was like, oh my God, you're right.
This is why they get paid the big bucks.
Yeah, they do. I'm like, man, I think I should have gone for that than being a podcaster, damn. But no, it's crazy. It's really crazy how that stigma is so big in Hispanics, and not that women are it's easy, but I feel like in the Hispanic world, when you're a man, you kind of like, if you show that there's something wrong, it's weakness, or like, oh, you're just being a baby, or you're a man up, something like that. And if you tell your friends, I remember when I told my friends the first time I went to therapy, and it was such a hard thing to do, and they told me, man, I knew you were crazy. They would tell me like, oh my God, then that's a stigma, it's crazy. But I also am a bit advocate about that, like I mentioned, and I feel like I've been able to help people by my actions, by me going My daughter was very in the fence at the beginning, and I think she's now seeing a therapist there at the school, at the college that she's going to. And I do feel that it helped her out because she saw me doing it, and she saw me and she was curious, would ask me questions, like, she would always tell me, like, without you telling me exactly what you said to your therapist, like, what do you guys talk about? Like, does it help you and stuff like that? And I knew when she was asking me, she
She was
started
getting
getting curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And she's now, going, and hopefully it's helping her, and that to me is the most amazing thing. If I can, I would love to help a stranger,
Hmm.
find better mental health. But if I can find it within my same blood, and my daughter in this case, man, that's even much better, so it's crazy, that how, talking to a therapist can really give you perspective, give you the
Yeah.
perspective that you need. And I think that's why, again, I go back to running, because I think if I never went to run, never got into running, I don't think I would have gone to a therapist either. I think I would have thought to myself, I'm okay. Like, there's nothing wrong with me.
Wrong with
Something's wrong
mhm.
with you, not with me. And so that's why I do think that mental health and running go hand to hand. You
I
know,
agree. I
it's
mean,
amazing.
I think it was after the New York or after Chicago, there was like
Yeah.
a great meme that came out, and they're like,
Hmm.
it was someone running a marathon, and they had the cardboard, like, therapy is free, right? And I'm like, I was like, that person doesn't know that I also pay for my marathons and therapy.
Yeah, yeah,
But also shout
exactly.
out to Houston Methodist because they don't charge us for our mental health.
That's
So our
awesome.
insurance, they know, like, healthcare providers
Hmm.
sometimes they're in a really dark place, and they
Yeah,
take care of us. So, like, thankfully, like, I understand sometimes access to all of that is not the greatest. So
yeah,
if that's always too, I always like to shout out the 988 suicide hotline. It is a way to get in touch with somebody if you're ever in a crisis, or even if you want to find out how to help someone. They have
yeah,
online counselors 24/7. I've called the number before for people with people. They're great. They're amazing at what they do, and it's free. So there's always ways to be able to access the help that you need. It's
yeah,
sometimes just, reaching out for help, which is what is really hard to do, but
yeah.
everyone belongs to be in this world because
I
you
agree.
provide a big piece of the puzzle.
We're all here for a reason. We're all here. We have a purpose. We have a reason to be living, and definitely, it's very important to remember that even when things seem to be looking bad, there's always a new beginning, like you mentioned. So that's awesome, man. Sarah, I really appreciate all the good mental health stuff, because to me, when I have people that love to talk about mental health, I can talk for days,
Right?
and
I
and
know.
you got to go to work tomorrow, I'm pretty sure. So
I do have to go to work tomorrow.
no, but I would like to talk a little bit about your social media. You mentioned a little bit about it. How
Yeah.
how how has social media helped you connect with running communities or other runners, or in general?
Yeah, it's been great. Like I said, the ambassadorship has exposed me to a lot of different people, not just
Hmm.
on social media, but just going to different events, and, like, someone recognizing me and me being able to, like, meet different people on and off social media. And
Yeah.
the other fun stuff, it's like I met my running coach. We used to be an ambassador, and she lives in Denver, actually, or in
Okay.
Boulder, excuse me.
Nice.
Uh, but we met up in person, so I was like, oh, it's like a real life friendship now. So there's been a few people that I've actually connected through over social media, or I've met them, and then I've met them in person. I'm like, wait, do I know you? It's like I feel like I know you because I watch your videos all the time, but I've never met
Yeah.
you in person. So it's been really cool to be able to connect a lot with people, like, on and off
Yeah.
line. And really, I feel like I've become a grandma with social media this past year, and more about the, like, in life experiences.
Yeah.
So we'll see what's in store for 2025. I'm hoping to be a little more active online. I feel like my grandma phase is over, and I'm back to, you take a year off and back to posting about a lot of the stuff, because I do feel
Yeah.
like I did have a lot of people reach out to me, like when I did post about my cousin's suicide and other things. And I think sometimes you just need to see somebody going through what you're going through
Yeah,
to be able to like open that door for somebody. Like
for
you never
sure.
know when someone needs to see you running or jumping or doing something with your
Yeah,
family to be able to connect and make that connection.
that's awesome. That's awesome. And talking about social media, how'd you meet Alejandro?
I met Alejandro through the ambassador program. I don't
Okay.
remember exactly where we met. I must have been, yeah, it had to be through the ambassadors because I don't
Mm-hmm.
think I had met him before that. But it's actually really funny because he has a really good friend named Rosa, not to be confused with Rosa, also the ambassador.
Okay. Okay.
Rosa and his friend they're like, I think friends since they were kids. And
Okay.
she and I went to UT together and were in a service sorority together.
Okay.
So like I feel like Alejandro and I were then destined to be friends because she is a great person, and so it makes sense that they've been friends this long. And then I met him, and we just vibed.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, he did mention, I think, a little bit about you in the podcast. I actually had him for episode 15, and he's so cool. I love his creativity when it comes to social media.
He's
Has
the
such
best.
great ideas. I try to. I'm not gonna say copy him because it's very hard to do that, but I get a lot of source of like inspiration through him. So yeah, and I remember and I saw you guys also, like, you came out in the ambassador social media, and that's kind of how when I saw yours, I think it was the takedown or the
Oh yeah, the
takeover.
takeover. Yeah, we did a
Takeover.
little dual takeover.
Yeah, yeah, and that really got me interested in having you. And so there you go, talking about social media, how it's
There's that
been,
connection. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and it's so powerful. I think when you use it the right way, I like I mentioned to you earlier, I really try to put as many positive things about my runs, and I try to be as honest as I can because, like you said earlier as well, like sometimes what you see on social media is not really the truth. I try to do the different thing. If I have a bad run, I'm gonna say I had a horrible run. If I had a great run, I will post it and say it was great, and this is the reason why. But I always try to be honest and you know as and try to explain it as best as I can without making it sound like it's like the best thing ever all the time. And
Yeah.
I think that's why I don't have a big following, but the people that follow me, I feel like they enjoy and like that, the honesty. And that's why I like the people I follow, like Alejandro, like yourself, because it's what I would need to see. If I wanted to see something fake, then I probably would follow like Paris Hilton or something like that,
Yeah.
which it's not, they have such a great lifestyle. And in reality, it's
Yeah.
probably not like that all the time, but social media has helped me connect with a lot of people. I've become ambassador for different brands that I believe in, thanks to the social media. And hopefully Chevron sees this and you say, you know what, let's just give this guy a
A
chance.
chance.
But you never know. You never know. But it's amazing. Your journey is amazing and crazy. I still can't believe that you've went from zero to a marathon. I'm still
I
kind of
don't
like in
recommend it.
shock.
Don't try it at home, kids.
But Sarah, we're almost here at the end of the podcast. So we do have a tradition that our episode 19 guest, well, my good friend Carlos had a question. So we'll go ahead and let Carlos ask the question, and then you will come back and you can answer the question. Okay?
Sounds good.
Awesome.
A question.
Yeah.
I will ask your next guest, what was their favorite race and why?
My favorite race was Chicago. It was mentally my hardest race, but I ran it in honor of my cousin, Margarita Vizcarra, who unfortunately took her life to suicide. And running that race was, to remember the struggles that she went through, the amazing things that she accomplished with her life, and the life that I have yet to live, and the people that I get to impact with my running journey that would have never started if I unfortunately didn't go through that tragedy. But through that tragedy, I got to triumph and find a whole new version of me that I love a lot better than the person I was pre all of those things. So that is my favorite race. I will be doing Chicago again, and hopefully even redemption round, feeling a lot better while I do it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And what a great way to remember somebody, and you'll always remember that race, I'm pretty sure. And I can only imagine how memorable and how emotional it was to be able to, put all those miles and have, her in your mind. And she was probably watching you too, man. That's the greatest thing. She was there cheering you on. And when you needed a kick in the butt, she probably gave you a kick in the butt, so definitely that's awesome. Very, very awesome to hear. And hopefully Chicago's better this year. So I'm curious, what was your time the first time in Chicago?
I don't remember. I think it was 446.
446.
436. One of those two.
One of those. Well, 446, 436.
Yeah. No,
that's
it's
amazing.
Great time, but like mentally, like one of the hardest races. It was a great race because I think I got engaged the Friday before, and so I feel like I was just like, and then I started off so fast. Yeah. And then just blew up. And then I think emotionally, it was a heavy race. Yeah. My whole family was in town, like my dad, my cousins, my tias, like everybody was there. And it was just like, grief hit hard that race. And I feel like my legs were not just heavy, but my heart was heavy. And it was great. I mean, it was an amazing time. And it's like marathons, you only remember the good stuff from them sometimes, which is why you keep doing them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm hoping to do it and feel a lot better while I do that.
Is there a time that you want to hit, or just
Nah. I feel like I run on vibes, so like I always want to beat the time that I did before, but I'm also like a realistic runner, and like anything can happen with marathons. It's not as predictable as a half marathon. So I'm pretty open to whatever happens and just enjoying it. As long as I have a smile on my face, it's a win.
Yeah, for sure. And before we go, I have just the marathon that's coming up. What corral are you going to be in?
I will be in C Corral.
Okay. I'm not going to tell you which corral I am because you're going to get jealous. So I'm just going to keep it that way.
Fine, that's okay.
Corral B.
Oh,
I don't know how I got in Corral B. I'll be honest. I think because I did the charity. I don't know. Maybe that's the reason why.
I don't know.
Shout out to Team Catapult. I run for Catapult.
Waiting. Oh, that's awesome. I'm actually happy. I'm in C. A lot of my friends are in C. I've always been in C, so I don't know any better. I know C, like the sun comes out during C.
Yeah.
I'm sure it comes out in B too, but I've never been there, so I don't know.
So you wouldn't know.
That's not a perk of the ambassadorship. You're still in the C Corral, don't worry.
It's like, man, I really thought I was going to be moved up, but I guess not.
Yeah. I still haven't gotten that fast.
Oh my God. But no, we're less than a week away from it. I really hope you have a good race. I hope we can meet in person. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, let's meet up.
And we'll definitely. I'll keep in touch to see how you do and cheer on our victories when we cross the finish line. For me, like I mentioned to you earlier, it's a finish for me this year. I really don't want to push more than that. I don't want to get injured and then have to limp to my wedding because I'm getting married this year. Finally, I proposed to my fiance 3 years ago after the Vegas marathon. I mean, the Vegas half. And ever since, I've been signing up to races without asking for permission, I guess. And we have been postponing it, so she finally kind of told me, she kind of said it without really saying it. We're getting married this year or you're out of the house kind of thing. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So, like it's me or marathons. I'm not kidding.
I was like, oh, that's a tough one. Is that?
That's a tough one. I mean, all these shoes are you? Not kidding.
I'm kidding.
That's awesome. Congrats. Yeah. Congratulations. And
Thank you.
Take that's life. You put things on pause sometimes, or you fit them in when you can.
Yeah.
The running, not the wedding.
Yeah. It's the running first. Yeah, for sure. No, but yeah, I think it's time after 3 years, after everybody asking me as well, like, when are you guys going to get married? So we finally said, Houston is my only marathon I'm running, and then for the rest of the year is planning for this wedding, which is in October, and and then kind of I'm excited for the bachelor party. I'm not gonna lie.
Where are you
excited.
gonna go?
I want to go to Vegas, or I want to go to like New Orleans, somewhere where I can gamble, because I love gambling. I'm a degenerate gambler, unfortunately. So I have to do that. But I'm excited. I'm excited, and hopefully, she says yes and not say no at the wedding. That would be horrible, But
Made it 3 years into an engagement.
Yeah. And hopefully she doesn't see this episode where I say that, marathons are more important than getting married. So
that's the perk of not dating a runner. Like, they don't get into any of this. I highly recommend it. Sometimes it's really good. Sometimes it's like, why are you running so much? Why are you sleeping so much? Why are you eating so much? But
yeah, unfortunately mine's a runner because she's the one that got me into it. But I became much more of a obsessed runner, and she even says, man, if I knew that you were going to become this obsessed with running, maybe I would have not introduced you. I'm like, well,
I say that to myself often.
It's the ADHD in me. I think I get very hyper focused in something, and then I don't want to let it go.
Mine's the type A person in me. I was like, I've always been goal oriented, and now I just get to make more schedules with more things, and here we are.
Here we are. And here we are at the end as well. So as just how you did, you answered the question.
Okay.
What question do you have for our 21? Yes, episode 21.
21. The question is, what is your favorite thing to eat after any race, and why?
I love that question, and nobody has asked that question.
No.
So
I'm
that's even
food,
amazing.
So.
Amazing. I want to know what is your go-to meal after running a amazing marathon?
I always eat some Tex-Mex. I want some fajitas, some queso, and an enchilada. That's like my staple post-run meal. And then it's like pizza and mac and cheese, and I'm like, I just don't stop eating all day. So what didn't I eat after the race is
that should have been the better question.
Yeah. Hail.
I do the seafood diet.
Race day.
I actually do the seafood diet. Whatever food I see, I eat.
That's me. I don't even like bananas, and then post race, I'm like, I don't even like milk, and I'm like, chocolate milk. And I'm like, what else? What else is here?
What else? It's funny because after running a marathon,
me.
No, sorry, man, you're cutting me off already.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I know. I was like, oh man.
He's like, get it over with.
You gotta cut me.
Get it over with, right? No, I was just gonna say, I just eat a lot. I eat a lot, and I don't care what I eat after a marathon. I do get hungry every 3 hours after I run a marathon, and I'm just stuffing myself with food. So, for sure. And
that's why I plan like multiple dinners with different friends, and they're like, "Are you going to be able to eat all that?" And I'm like, Watch me. Yeah, for sure. But now we are at the end. Before you leave, where can we find you on social media? You can find me at Sarah Alfaro. I'm one of the OG Instagrammers with still her name. One day I'll change it, maybe. I don't know. I'm not very creative, so just look for my name. That's also my email if you want to reach out to me at outlook.com.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And my social security number is not going to...
Hold on, let me write it down.
Yeah. That's okay. I'm dyslexic. It wouldn't come out right. Perfect. Well, thank you so much for having me. Please, if you have any questions, you need some motivation, follow me for great tips on life. And thank you so much for being here, for doing what you do, and for living life.
Thank you very much. No, thank you very much for being a guest. Thank you for the great talk. Thank you for the mental health talk. That's amazing. And good luck on your race on Sunday. Are you running Saturday?
I will be there to cheer on people at the 5K and probably doing a little shakeout in the morning. I don't know. I get really nervous the day before, so I just kind of listen to what my body.
Good thing to
Yeah.
do. But yeah, thank you very much,
Yeah.
Sarah, and good luck on your race on Sunday. And hopefully, maybe we'll see each other at the end or at the
Yeah.
starting line for sure.
Yes. Yeah, we're going to be doing a fun little meetup. So look for Alejandro's information he's
Okay.
posting so we
I'll-
can meet up there.
I'll definitely do that.
Yeah.
And we have to do another episode just talking trash about Alejandro, all the dirt and the trash. I
And
think we
how
need to
good
do
of that guy just can run so good. Yeah, that's all. That's as trash as I get. His ankle is trash. That's pretty much it. I'm like, I will watch him run. I'm like, is it your left leg that hurts? I was like, I can tell. And he's like, really? And I was like, you should not wear those shoes.
All right. We're already starting another conversation. But yes, Sarah, thank you very much again. And you have yourself a good night, okay?
Bye. Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye.